Have you ever been out and about doing some recording and all of a sudden found yourself hearing something like this? It's a little unsettling the first time it happens, especially if you don't know where it's coming from. And I've had more than my fair share of recordings messed up before I realized this was the culprit. XLR cables can pick up stray electromagnetic and radio frequency interference, or EMI and RFI, respectively. But not all XLR cables are built the same, and some do a better job of protecting against this interference than others. In this video, I'll introduce you to some of the qualities in an XLR cable that make for more effective EMI and RFI rejection. And to illustrate these qualities in action, I'll test 3 different XLR cables from IO Audio Technologies against a few of the cables in my gig bag. So stay tuned. Hey, Noah Tichy here for Gearspace. If you're like me, an XLR cable probably gets the least amount of attention out of everything in your signal chain. The thing about a chain, though, is it's only as strong as its weakest link. So this video is all about what makes for a stronger link in the form of an XLR cable. Before we dive into that, though, let's take a minute to go over the anatomy of an XLR cable. The typical XLR cable features a 3-pin output terminal and a 3-pin input terminal. The cable itself houses conductors that connect to the pins of the terminals. XLR cables are balanced in that you have a positive signal conveyed through this pin and its conductor, a negative signal running through this pin and its conductor, and a ground or drain wire connected to this pin. When I say positive and negative, or hot and cold, I'm referring to polarity. So the signal conveyed here is in phase, or positive, or hot, whereas the signal here is inverted, or negative, or cold. The whole point of a balanced cable is to minimize noise in the signal. This is made possible by the use of the inverse relationship between the hot and cold signals. Essentially, any noise that is introduced between terminals shows up the same way in both signals. When the signals reach the next stage of the signal chain, they hit an inverting amp, which reverses the polarity of the negative signal and sums the signals together. That polarity reversal creates a negative signal of the noise that showed up somewhere in your cable run, and thus the sum of the 2 signals phases it out. In theory, you end up with a perfectly clear signal free of noise. In theory. In reality, the quality of the materials used in the construction of the cable can throw the theory right out the window. The conductors, which are the core of the cable, can be configured in either a twisted pair or a star quad configuration. The former is more common, but the latter is more effective at EMI and RFI noise rejection, and also more expensive. The conductors themselves can be made out of a wide variety of metals, with some of the best, most conductive materials being more expensive than the alternatives. Around the conductors, you need some sort of insulation, which again can vary in cost and effectiveness. Then you need shielding around the insulation and a PVC jacket at a bare minimum. You'll also find cables that have 2 layers of shielding and a sheath around the jacket, features that add additional protection against noise. So today I've got 5 different XLR cables that vary both in terms of price point and the materials used in their construction, and we're going to see if we can hear the difference in how these materials react to EMI through a little experiment that I've set up. First, I took a 150 ohm XLR plug to stick into my interface as a control, and then the terminal of each cable so that I could record the sound of each cable and its resistance to EMI and nothing else. I created a source of EMI by plugging a few power adapters into a power strip, and as you can see, we're getting a pretty big blast of EMI here. There are a couple things I should mention briefly before we dive into the listening, just so you know what we're listening to and seeing. I have all 5 of the cables that I'm testing in this one track that I've loaded into Isotope RX, as well as 2 controls. So these portions at the beginning and the end are the control. It's basically where I took the 150 ohm XLR plug that I used and plugged it directly into my Interface. So this is not quiet, but it is as quiet as it's going to get based on the interface that I'm using. Here's the Amazon Basics XLR cable, which I would typically expect to be among the cheapest on the internet, if not the cheapest, but more on that later. Here is the Amazon Basics cable. Here's the IO Audio Technologies Performance Series cable that at the time of recording is actually less than half the cost of the first cable, the one I would have expected to be the least expensive. Here is the IO Audio Technologies Performance Series cable. Here's the Professional Series from IO Audio Technologies, which features upgraded conductors, insulation, and a braided copper shield rather than a spiral wound shield. What's especially notable about the shielding is that the next XLR cable is more expensive than this one at the time of recording, yet it contains spiral wound shielding. Here is the IO Audio Technologies Professional Series cable. Here's a Pro-Co XLR cable, around $10 more expensive than the Professional Series. Here is the Pro-Co cable. Finally, here is the Premium Series from IO Audio Technologies. It's only about $6 more expensive than the Pro-Co XLR cable. And here is the IO Audio Technologies Premium Series cable. Now let's circle back on the Premium Series from IO Audio Technologies. You know what it sounds like, but what are the components more specifically that make it so clear and resistant to noise? The Premium Series is built using a star quad conductor configuration with a dual braided shield. The 4 conductors are made of 24 AWG stranded oxygen-free copper and are also silver-plated to improve conductivity. The insulation uses low-density polyethylene, which reduces capacitance, while a chlorinated polyethylene insulator adds flexibility by separating the conductors from the shields. The first shield is braided OFC, while the second shield is braided tinned copper. There's a PVC jacket in there to reduce noise from mechanical vibration, but the exterior you see is the braided nylon sleeve, which is much more pleasing to the eye. Here's the sound of each cable once more without me speaking in between. So that's the noise rejection piece, which as far as I'm concerned is priority number 1 in a cable. But there is a close second priority, and that is durability. Each of the IO Audio Technologies cables utilize the same IO connectors, which feature durable die-cast zinc shells with built-in latch locks that provide a reliable connection. They also feature a sturdy plastic insert that tightens onto the cable to provide strain relief, while an additional rubber boot delivers extended support from excessive bending. The contacts are silver-plated for a stable signal. Between the high-quality innards of the cable and these connectors, you're looking at a really durable piece of audio equipment. And even if you weren't, IO Audio Technologies includes a lifetime warranty with all of their cables. So all that's to say, this will not be the weak link in your signal chain. So there you have it. If this video has been useful, do me a favor and like it. Maybe even subscribe to the Gearspace Forum YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell so that you know next time we put something out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.